Dorothy here with Done by Dorothy. We are here today working on our For the Love of Australia journal, so we're going to get right with it because we're going to do both sides of our very last base page. So, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time to do that, so we're going to do that really fast. Well, not really fast, but we're going to work on getting that. So this page I want to cover with a base coat of fabric. I actually want to do this on this side. I want to cover it with the very bottom with a solid coat of fabric. So we're going to use our Fabri-Tac for that. This will go by. This shouldn't take very long to do this because with using the Fabri-Tac it holds really good. So we'll just use Fabri-Tac. I'm not using a massive amount, but I want to make sure that I have enough coverage that it's going to tack down really well. I do want to make sure that I get around my holes really well and along my edges. So, you know, if you want to go all the way around the edge first. I'm sorry if my throat sounds a little off today. I woke up this morning and sounding all goofy, so I don't know what the deal is. And again, I'm just doing a nice coat across it so it'll adhere really well. Set that to the side here. And then I've cut this a little bit larger. Let me make sure that I'm in frame here. I'm trying to have a lot of shadowing today, and I'm not sure why. Okay, I'm going to make sure that, let's see. Let me try to get you guys back just a little bit. I'm sorry if I tilted it real. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to layer this on there. I'm going to start in the middle and sort of push outward just to get it that first bit of tack down, and then I'll go back through. And if we need to go back through and add some glue, it's not a big deal because Fabri-Tac gives you some time to work with it. One of my jars over here on my shelf is not sure why it's shaking and making noise today. It doesn't usually do that, but today it sounds noisy. Okay. And that seems like it adhered really well around the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and trim the fabric off around the edges. And again, you know, when I get done trimming, if I need to lift one of the edges up and put a little glue under there to hold it on the edges, and that's fine. I really like using fabric in my journals. And these pages are, oops, I cut into my base page. Don't do that. It's okay. Nobody will know. But these base pages are really large, which you usually don't get, you know, when you're doing a journal. You have, at least I don't, I tend to do smaller size journals, so you don't get like that, the real estate, the amount of work area you do with these. If I can trim this little edge up over here. Put that to the side. Okay. So we have our base there, and because where we did cut, this is going to string off on the edges a bit. So, you know, you will get some fraying along the edges, which I like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue down here in this one bottom area where it seemed like it just didn't want to stick really well. And remember, when you use Fabri-Tac, oops, it is permanent, but it takes a little bit to dry, so you know, if you start pulling on and jerking on it, it's going to come undone. You need to sort of let it set for a little bit before just a bit where I hadn't caught. There we go. Okay. And I'm not going to worry about where that frays along the edge. I'm just going to let that age work with me. Okay. And then I have this spiny anteater porcupine is what I want to use today. So I'm going to go ahead and ink him up. Okay, I'm going to put my lid on my glue here before it bubbles back out and becomes a mess. This is really brittle. It's an encyclopedia page on Australia. I really liked it because it has the states and the territories on it. And I'll show you. Let's see, it is a Compton's Pictured Encyclopedia. It is from, that's pretty in page though, the 1962 edition. So it's got a nice age around the pages, and so my mom actually found this for me. So I'm going to leave this edge over here straight where it's got the index tab hole, but I wanted to, normally I'd use my chair roller for this, but this is so brittle it comes right off. Okay, so I'm going to ink up around the edges on it. And again, because this is all about Australia, I'm not going to worry that much about if it shows through or not. Because if it shows through, then you're just getting more information. And I'm one of those people, I sort of like leaving it because I like being able to read it. So, like this is the desert outback. This is the view from Ayers Rock, 300 miles west of Alice Springs. It says it shows why so much of Australia is unpopulated. The hard, dry, stony ground bears a scanty growth of stunted mulga trees and spinifex grass. In the middle distance is a dried lake. So over here it shows a picture of where the lake's dried up, which we know, which they have been having a lot of issues with no rain and things like that, which just sort of helped catapult the whole fire issue. And there are tons of places out there that you can donate to. If you Google search, you can find places all over to donate to. So, feel free to do that. I know that they can use the extra assistance. I know that Tracy Fox and Foxy Crafters has a sort of a fundraiser going on that you can donate to. Okay, so I'm going to put this on here, but I want to sort of tilt it side, sort of just turn it a little bit, so I don't want it straight. I sort of want it wonky. Wonky, I guess that's the word for today. Wonky. And see, there's a brown map on the back I could use, but I actually have a green map that I'm going to use. That is the vegetation. So there was actually probably about 15 pages on Australia. So I have some really cool black and white pictures that I'm going to be using on some of the ephemera that I have. So this is really old. You can tell the glue sort of grabs the ink and smears it. Make sure I put enough glue on there to hold it really well. Then again, I'm going to put it on here, just a sort of catacorner, catawampus. I don't know, however you want to say it. It was really funny because the other day I was making a video and I had said cattywampus, and a lot of people from the South and stuff said, you know, that they use that all the time, so it's not a real big thing. But we turned around and my husband had found a list, like a trivia list, and it had, you know, words you don't hear very often or you don't see used, and cattywampus was one of them, so I thought that was pretty funny. You know what? Trying to decide here. Let me look at my other pictures and see if I can find one that's a little smaller in size. Or even one of the larger birds that we can... Yeah, this one looks pretty. Yeah, let's use this one. The satin bowerbird. It's a really pretty blue. And I'm going to separate the name from this, so I can cut down closer to the bird, because the name was way at the bottom, so this lets me cut off a little bit more. I'm going to put that right up there at the top. And then I'm going to do this as a really tight fussy cut again. I'm not going to cut right up to it, but I'm going to go as close as I can without cutting any of the actual bird off. Sort of leaving a little of the tree in there. So it has some for its little legs to perch on. So yeah, today will be the last of our base pages. Our covers we'll keep to the very last. I always do that with my journals. I like sort of getting the feel and of what I want to be on the covers. So we'll start doing the ephemera. Hopefully you guys can, I'm sorry I'm taking so long cutting this out. I'm not completely fussy cutting, but as close as I can get without fussy cutting. Okay. Then let me ink my name up here. Cut that off so it's not so... And we'll put some green around this, sort of give it a little color. Okay, so we have our bowerbird. Let me double check. Okay, this is going to be, yeah, this is going to be this way. So this is going to be to the outside. So try to figure out exactly how I want to do this without cutting anything off. Maybe put him sort of sideways. You can put him right like that. It's not going to cut off a lot. Okay, I'm going to put a ribbon through here, so I can do that and sort of trim his tail down. So we'll put him right there. Put a little name maybe right there. No, I think we'll put it up there at the top. I like it up there. So have this other green fabric that I have. So I'm going to rip off a scrap of it. I'm going to put it up here to put my little name on. So put a nice dollop of glue there to hold that down. Then put some glue on my name. Just that sort of highlights that and makes it pop up off of the page. And then I wanted let's see, I'm gonna use a little bit of this gold. And I don't even care if it's straight. I just want to give it that ripped edge look. I'm just going to, again, put a nice square of glue down here. And let it hang off the side a little bit. So there's little strings coming off. Okay. So we've got that there. And let me find my now I want to use this ribbon just along the yellow here. So that's why I hung it off the side a little bit. So we're just going to have our little, and we're going to do it just like we've been doing with our little pleats. Let me turn this way because I find it easier to work horizontal. And again, we're going to do it just like we've been doing. We'll go back through and go back through and glue it down once we, and then I'm going to leave the bottom edge just a tad straight. Put that sort of at an angle. There we go. I'm going to come back through and just do a little dollop of glue just to hold the little pleats down, because I made these a lot taller, so they would be a little thicker. Squeeze that out. And I'm going to leave this straight down here, so when we get to when we're putting charms and stuff in, I'm going to dangle my charm that has my gum nut off of this little tab right here. So it just creates a little sidebar right there. Okay, so let's get our bird down. So I shouldn't have put the lid on there yet. I actually think I'm going to try to take this right to the edge here. A little glue under the edge of this piece here. I didn't get down there real good. Okay, so, and I sort of like this because I can still read the territory. I can still see the desert picture, but it's got the bird on there in the name, and you have all the extra added fabric. I'm going to put a jot of glue down here in the corner. So there's the front of, or the back, I guess. This is actually the back of that page. And there's it. I'm going to grab my hole punch and punch my holes through real fast. And again, it's the fabric, so I may have to cut a little bit of the extra. Again, in a way, if you want to avoid that, I'm not really worried about it because we're going to be putting our grommets in. When I get this back page done, we'll put grommets in the last 3 pages we did. I just go back through and clip the little strings around there just to get them out of the way, because it is fabric. And I mean, if you didn't have grommets, you could use a regular hole punch and do that. I'm going to put a little bit more glue along here, just so that's more, with the little ribbon is more secure through there. Okay. So there's that side. Let's work on this one. And I'm actually going to put this to the side for a minute. I'm going to work with this. I need to grab my Mod Podge brush. Let me get it up really fast. Okay. And I've got my Mod Podge. And I'm just going to do, again, like we've been doing, a really nice, but this doesn't have to be a real thick coat, just a real fast coat. And again, this is just I think it's left over maybe from like a Stampin' Up! Paper, cardstock paper pack. So it's like a 110, maybe a little bit thicker than a 110. Cardstock. It was just an oddball piece of cardstock that I had, but it was green, so I thought I would use it since I just had the one piece left, and I like to sort of keep, if I'm going to keep, cardstock for a project, I like to have multiples of that color, so that's why I was using the different various green colors, because it, okay, so I'm going to pull out my green cheesecloth, and this is the light green that I dyed. And this is a long piece, so I'm just going to cut this up in pieces. Piece of that doily in there. And I'm just going to cover my whole entire page with it. And I can just sort of, press it down. It'll adhere. And just gonna make sure I get the whole page covered. And if I need to stop and, you know, put a little bit more Mod Podge down to hold it, I will. But cheesecloth sort of goes down pretty easy. And I can cut the extras off and all the little extra tidbits I'll still have. But this, I do have, you know, a few, like these are the 2 little shreds I have left of my green cheesecloth that I made. So when I get ready to do my ephemera, I will have to make some. So I will make it, I will dye it on film so everybody can see. It's pretty simple. I do not do a big, long, hard process. Okay, then I'm going to take my Mod Podge and I'm just going to go over top of it and sort of adhere it to the page better. Just like you would do a napkin or tissue paper or anything like that. You sort of have to tamp it as you wipe it on there. Just sort of get it down in those little spaces. And if you don't have cheesecloth, one thing that you can use that works really well is the medical gauze that you buy in rolls that you can unroll. It will work too. And you may have to use, you know, a little bit heavier amount of gesso in places where you've got two pieces coming together or joining. But yeah, you just sort of tamp it down and it'll go. And then when I get this done, I will dry it with my heat tool. The biggest thing with that is remembering not to get too close. And once you get it down, you can sort of wipe over top of it and thin some of those thicker areas out. And I don't worry if I get a hole like right here, all I have to do is lift that up and rebrush it down. And I can just trim off those excess pieces, set them to the side. And I'm going as close to the edge as I can without like going off the side of it, off the edge. And some of the edging we can keep on there, which will sort of just add this really awesome ruffled, you know, edge to the side. So if you really enjoyed, you know, doing sort of some of these mixed media pages, not so much, you know, type things, and this is something you'd like to do in the future, but maybe do it with a smaller size journal, or, you know, even another large one, or, you know, doing a smash book, glue book, art style journal. about maybe doing like a mixed media Monday. Type thing, or maybe on a Wednesday. So this hump day, sort of break up the monotony of doing the same thing every day during the week. Hopefully you guys, I'm hoping you're in camera where you can see that. I know that's sort of monotonous, probably sitting and watching this, and I could have paused, but sometimes seeing it step by step makes it a little easier. Hopefully everybody's having a good week. Getting close to the weekend. Yay! Everybody always likes the weekend. Okay, so I think that's really good. So I'm gonna put my brush back. I keep a jar of water that I just throw my brush down in when I'm over there, when I'm done with it. So, okay, I'm gonna lift this up. Now I do find, let me find, what did I do with it? Oh, there it is. I just used an old, oh well, no, let's make use that. I'll use this. It's just an old like watch style box, like a cardboard box. If I'm Mod Podging a whole page like this, it does let it sort of dry better. If it can get air underneath of it. And we're doing this on this part because A, the green will show through, which obviously I wanted the green to show through, but also that way it doesn't, like, I knew I would have to use a lot because of putting the cheesecloth on, and I didn't really want it to, you know, go through and leak through to the back a whole lot. And this doesn't usually take that long to dry. And again, you know, if you're trying to do like sort of some homemade paper type deal, you know, cheesecloth you can use over top of stuff, just like we did the napkin yesterday. You get more of a an open, like, you know, the holes are more open and more of a rougher paper, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Okay, and I just try to do that at first, and then then it does okay after that. It's just at first when you do it, a lot of that moisture as it's drying will wick through the back. So, but then we're going to add some other stuff. We're not done. And then we can adhere this, glue this straight to our base page. You know, it's getting really close to being dry. And, you know, you could have put anything underneath of the cheesecloth if you wanted to put string or yarn or fibers or, you know, excess paper or whatever you wanted to put. Okay. Get glue on my hands. Okay, so I'm gonna pull out. Let me grab my brush again. Okay. And my brush again. This is we made like a shimmery mist glue, shimmer glue. I'm gonna put a little bit of my Inca Gold in there. And I probably use, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. And then I'm just gonna stir it up really good. And it's just, well, if you go to into my DIY playlist, you'll find the shimmer glue in there. It's like, would remind you almost of like art glitter glue, except instead of, you know, being in a bottle, I have this in a jar where I can brush it on. And it's a shimmery mist, and the gold just gives it a gold tone. And I'm just gonna, in some places, I don't know if you'll be able to see, it's more, comes out like a buttery yellow. But we're just gonna sort of put it in spots. And because of that, you know, the gold, it will show through. And as it dries, you'll get almost like an opaque gold, which makes it really nice. But you'll still get, you know, a lot of that green in the background. And you know, you can put it wherever you want, just smear it on. And I didn't mind, you know, mixing up. I have probably probably 2 tablespoons full, but I can use it when we do all our ephemera. Or if I have it left over, then I'll just use it in another project. And I'm not putting a lot, just that little bit. So it's sort of like the gold and the glue we mixed up the other day, but it does have the shimmer in it, so that's why it gives it sort of that pearlized effect. And when that's done that, I'm gonna pull out my little bowl here and put just some gold paint in there, just a couple drops. I mean, it's probably a dime-sized amount. And it does, I don't know if you guys can see it, adds that like golden shimmer butter tone to some of the areas, just creates a different vibe. The feel of that is, and you know, it sort of gives it like that raised, almost like a skin. I know that sounds probably really weird, but okay. Then I'm going to come back in with my dots that we used the other day, but I'm going to use a paintbrush this time. And I'm just going to because the paintbrush will give you a different look. And I want it to get down in between. So it does do sort of a heavier amount of paint. And see, that sort of blopped into a big blob where I wasn't holding it all the way down because of where, which is fine. That doesn't bother me. So I'm going to grab a baby wipe real fast because they actually come in really handy. I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to just wipe my paint off over here. Just to sort of get it nice and cleaned up so it's not everywhere. My rag and dry it. Okay, I'm going to set this to the side because we're going to use it again in a minute. And I'm going to dry this really good with my dryer. But I just thought this would be sort of a different feel of a page. Just sort of different textures that you can create. Now, if you don't have cheesecloth too, one thing you can use, especially if you're doing, depending on what kind of journal you're doing, if you're doing like a nature journal where you need a brown or something like that, onion bags or potato bags, if you want bigger, wider, you know, you'll have obviously wider shapes with potato bags because the squares are larger, but like onion bags work really well too. And while I'm drying this, I'm gonna move set my brush over here for a second. I'm gonna get out my green, and this is the Clover Fields green, and I don't even care if it's mixed with the Inca Gold. And then I'm going to use the other end of my stencil, which is sort of these lines, just to sort of create a different feel, I guess, is the word to it. And if that gold mixes in there, it really doesn't bother me. And again, I'm not going to do all of it. I'm just going to sort of create that lined look. And it doesn't even have to be and I know everybody's going, oh, it's squeezing through the stencil. I sort of want that. I don't want it to look like it's completely like it's everything is exact. I don't want that. I wanted the sort of randomness if it squishes out between the little lines on the stencil, which is why I'm sort of pouncing it, because then it will squeeze out between that stencil. You'll get lines and areas, but not the whole thing will be exact, lines. There we go. I think I'm going to put one little bit down here, but just a teeny tiny bit in the corner down here. Not even, just barely some on there. You see that just sort of randomly come out like a spot, but you can still see a little bit of the lines. So I can clean it later. Let me grab another baby wipe. I actually grabbed a couple because there's quite a bit of paint on here, so I didn't want to get it everywhere. Set this to the side a little bit. And now here's something that a lot of people probably don't think about. I'm using these baby wipes. You're like, oh, what a waste, what a waste. You can actually take those and if you get like a drying sheet that you like dry baked goods on, you can lay that out over top of that and dry it and use that. And it almost is like a really thick cheesecloth. These are, I buy the Equate brand from Walmart, so they're like more like the generic-y ones. But they're sort of like a Pampers baby wipe. They're almost like fabric, not so much like, you know, the old school baby wipes from when my kids were kids, at least. I mean, they're a lot, they were just starting to come out with these, but they're really fabric-y. So, but yeah, you can keep those and use those in your projects so you don't have, you know, that waste. If you don't want, okay, so I'm going to dry this really fast. And I sort of liked the lines and the dots, even though I didn't want it to be specific. But I sort of like the randomness, sort of the patterns. It reminds me of extremely like tribal type things. So I thought that was sort of a neat thing to throw out there. And it, you know, adds just a little pop of color. And it, you know, it dries really good, and it doesn't take a long time to dry. And it gives it a nice texture, a nice background, sort of a different color. Now, you could have dyed, I lightly dyed my cheesecloth when I dyed it. You can dye it where it's darker. And if it was darker, you know, it wouldn't have lost a lot of its coloring. So you have the paint, and you have the gold and the green. I'm trying to see if it's, this green is a gloss paint, so it sort of has that look that it's wet even when it's not. We have the gold, we've got the glimmer part that sort of adds this whole different earthy tone to it. And this dries over top of it, and I really wish you could feel it, but it's pretty neat. Definitely a texture page. Okay, I think we're good. But, like, I don't know if you can, so you can see where some of that moisture leached through on the back, but because it's on this page, it'll still adhere to the other one really well. But yeah, it's almost like a really heavy leather. Okay. Now I have to sort of decide which way we want this. I know I want this sort of shaggy side on this side. Okay. I want this shag out along the edge, not towards the, because I'm going to have to cut off along my spine. So I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac, just because it has more of a better hold and it gives me more time to be able, more wiggle room time. But I'm going to have to make sure I put quite a bit on there because, you know, that page is pretty heavy. So and I mean, I could have used art glitter glue because it's paper on paper, but because of how heavy it is, I want something to a little more. And art glitter glue, I mean, does really good for paper, but just because of all the paint and texture, I don't know, you know, how much paper qualities that it keeps. Well, you know, because all that stuff seeped through the paper and dried. Okay. And again, let's remember which way we want to go. I want it to go this way. So I'm actually going to turn my page upside down here. And I'm going to line up my edges to the best of my ability here. Turn it upside down as I can here. Now, because we cut these in 8 by 10, this page is a little bit larger, and I knew it was going to be. However, because we have, this is the same size as our covers, so I'm going to be able to trim this up. I cut that along my edge. And if you're like using fabric scissors or something, do not use your fabric scissors along there. Okay. I'm going to trim this down just a wee bit. Sort of pull some of the strings out and make it more ragged, because I'm leaving this raggedness on there. And I want to leave it all the way around. This we can keep because it's already glued and adhered on there, and it shows some degree. And we can use this on tags, or, you know, or along the bottom of an envelope, just to add a little something something. So let me pop my holes through first. Let me cut my holes. And again, you know, if you've been with us all the way through the series, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's done something different than like our standard little journals that, you know, everybody sort of uses. Out. We got so many awesome little pages in here. And we're not done with this because we still have to glue our animal and everything on there, but I wanted to check and just see how it would look land within our book because of the size difference. See, and that's going to give us a lot of shag overall, but it doesn't, the page doesn't actually hang out. It's just the shag. So, yay! Okay. So let's turn this, flip this back over. Oops. One page too much. And I'll just leave this in here since it's in here. Well, we got to take them out in a minute anyway because we have to put our grommets in. So I might as well go ahead and pull our other pages out too and have them out waiting for us. And then what I'm going to do is when we put these back in, I'm going to put this page next instead of at the very end, because then all that shag will be coming out of the center of the journal. Okay, let me put this over here. Let me grab my punch and get it set up to do our grommets. Yep. Let me pull my, oh, it's over here. Pull my little box with all my grommets in it. Well, some of them, not all of them. We have 3 pages to do, so I pull out a couple more. Because when we originally pulled out, I had just pulled out for the 2. Then we ended up putting 3 into it. So okay, there's my grommets. Put it back over here. Okay, this is going to be the front. So I need to put my grommets through there. And that one's done. Those are pretty easy. I'm sorry if I get quiet on you. I'm doing the whole can't chew gum and walk at the same time thing. So we'll get these grommets in. We'll have all of our base pages done. Then we'll come in and do our ephemera. And we'll get this one finished pretty fast. It won't take very long. I have glue everywhere, guys, on my fingers. I'm so sorry. Pressing, they're going, seriously, wipe your fingers off, woman, what's wrong with you? But we'll finish this one up. It probably won't take. It'll be a lot shorter than what you think. We'll have it done, and then I'm going to be using, perhaps probably next week we'll finish this up, because we pretty much have to decorate the covers, which is a day. If we do the front cover one day and the back, that's 2 days. Then we pretty much have base pages, but they're going to be sort of repetitive in between the pages. We'll have smaller pages we're putting in between there. So those won't take extremely long to get done. Okay, let me put this over here. Let's glue our little guy down here. I'm not going to use anything in the background because there is so much going on here that I think he can sort of hold it his own. I actually think, do we want to just do one? Yeah, I think I just want to do one because I don't want to give up that background. So we'll do the little guy here. But we'll finish the ephemera and everything up probably next week. There may be Monday through Friday. I know I will have videos up for sure. If I need to throw up extras over the weekend just to get it finished, then I will. Then the last week of the month we will be doing, I don't want to tell what it is until it's time to do it, but we're going to be doing another project, and we're going to be using a kit from Sherry at Studio 28E, and I will post the kit we're going to be using before, like the day before, so you may, the last day we work on this, you'll get the intro video to that, and so you can get the kit and everything else, you know, the day before and have it printed out or ready, or however you want to do it, so you can follow along with us. So we're going to be doing a project with it. I wouldn't even say mini. It's not even really a mini project. It's just not a full, you know, a large journal, let's put it that way. Okay, so we're going to put this one in first because I want all of that cheesecloth goodness to stick out in the middle. Okay, and then we'll just put this one to the back. This is so bright. And then this one. And I've loved how these pages have come out because, I mean, we've used a lot of techniques. Yeah, we've used quite a few techniques and things, and okay, so just to go back over what we've got so far, okay, we've got our cover that we have to do and our back that we have to do. Oh, and I've lost a grommet. Oh no, I punched these, but I didn't put the grommets in yet. That's right. So we have our one grommet to put on the front and back, so and we've got our inside pages. Our inside, front, and back will be sort of basic pages. They'll have text, but then they'll have flat pockets that you can use. There'll be a 3-level pocket up here, I think. And on the very back page, I think I want to do sort of like a full page clasp envelope. So if you have, you know, things you want to keep or whatever. I'm actually going to be doing sort of a planner out of mine. So one of the pages that we'll be working with when we get to the ephemera is a monthly calendar, and there'll be a section for notes, then the monthly calendar you can write on, and then I will have a weekly sheet that you can print multiples out. So if you want like 5 for the month, you can print out how many ever you want to put between. And so, I mean, that was my point in sort of, because you have 5 weeks, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces in between your pages. So I sort of wanted to, you know, if I wanted to put my monthly calendar and everything up here, you know, yearly, monthly, or whatever, and then each section can be my week for the month. Then when I get done, I can pull all those pages out, file them away, so, you know, if you want to keep record of them, and then, you know, put my sheets in for the next month. And the pocket on the back will be expanding, so you literally can, you know, put all your month pages in there and pull them out and have them with you as you need them. So here's our page 1. And our page 2, we have our pocket. Page 3, I love this page. Well, actually, I like all these pages, but there's this one. And I love our little paint chip page, because, you know, that's a ready resource you can get. And I love the little side pocket over here with our little tuck. And this will hold a journal. In the pocket on the back will have a journal, and then we'll have another area that you can put a journal. So there'll be like 3 journals in the area within the journal. There'll be 3 small journals to journal in, alongside all of the calendar stuff that I'm doing. This spiny ant. I love this page. I just love the fluffiness that's all off of it, and it's so neat looking. And then I like this page, and I left it sort of blank, you know, so you could go in and add, you know, whatever you want to on this page. But I sort of liked that, you know, it just sort of breaks up. I liked this one. I loved this one. This was really fun to do. And I loved this too. I just sort of really liked all of them. And I liked this one, and it picked up so much from other projects where it was against it, some of the white gesso and stuff. It sort of added some age to it, and I really like that. But okay, so we will be back again to start our ephemera. I think, I don't know, we will see. You'll just be surprised. We will either start on our covers and finish those up, or we'll work on our ephemera, because I know people want to do different things, you know. And I have, you know, some extra odd pages that I'm going to add and things like that. So, okay, that is it. We will be back again tomorrow. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.